Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things you mentioned firstly was about the goalkeeper you are coaching. I suppose understanding the goalkeeper. I guess it would come under sort of having rapport with that goalkeeper, and I can imagine you've had an array of personalities that you coach. How exactly would you adapt? Is it a case of sort of an intuition for who they are and how they like to work, or would you openly ask them how many they like to do? I suppose just thinking off the top of my head, some keepers like to do sets of 20, others like to do sets of 2 or 3
reps. I think what tends to happen is as soon as I know I'm going on the road with international teams, as soon as I know the programme and I know how many sessions I've got, I can then start to think about planning the programme. The important thing about the programme is that you meet the needs of all 3, because we normally take 3 international goalkeepers, so that you meet the needs of them all. Yes, there might be a pecking order or a perceived pecking order. That's the number 1, that's the number 2, that's the number 3. But in my eyes, you've got to support them all. There's no favouritism in that. Within the practices, they all get an equal opportunity to perform within the practices. This is just my philosophy, just the way I do it. I always rotate them around within tactical practices. So when we're with the under-21s, who I work with now, with 2 who are involved in tactical sessions, and I'm working with 1, and I'll rotate them round. But the important thing is for me is that when you're putting on any sort of practice or whatever, you're dealing with 3 individual goalkeepers. So as a good example, if you say you're doing shot stopping from strikes from distance, I guarantee the 3 goalkeepers will take up different starting positions down the line of the ball. Some might be a little bit deeper, some might be a little bit more advanced, and all it's you as a coach looking at what suits each goalkeeper, and then try, if questions are posed, as to trying to help them or giving them options. But I don't think you can say this is the goalkeeper and everybody has to be like this goalkeeper, because it doesn't work like that. I think you've got to look at every goalkeeper's strengths, weaknesses, and try and help them as much as you can.
I agree. I mean, the actual session itself, do you have I guess in terms of certain percentage will be shot stopping, distribution, is it one that you favour over others, or do you try and mix everything evenly?
No, as I said, it's normally based around my programme. So once I know exactly, next week we meet up with the under-21s, we meet up Monday morning, we'll train Monday afternoon, and then we play our first game Thursday night. So I'll probably have a session Monday afternoon, Tuesday evening, 1 session Wednesday, and a light session on the morning of the game. So within 3 sessions, I've really got to prepare them for what I think will be the strengths of Iceland and Norway in terms of how their strategy on how they play, because that will have an impact on the actual sessions or some of the sessions that I'll be doing. The other issue will be time, because for Stuart, he needs to obviously do his tactical work as well. So there's a time where the goalkeepers will need to go over with Stuart to work on shape and whatever. And I've got to take all that into account. And really, just to summarise, what I find is that sometimes you end up doing sort of combination type practices. So you might incorporate dealing with crosses and a shot stopping practice within one, because going into the game, psychologically the goalkeeper knows, for me, or has to know, that they've done general handling, shot stopping, which is incorporated shots from distance, plus reaction type work, dealing with crosses, from deep, from wide, from the byline, just the variation, all the aspects of distribution. So it's you as the coach setting up your practices that maybe you actually coordinate 2 of the themes within one practice.
I mean, how important is it on that they are all very game specific?
Definitely, and I've gone the full works. I think you only got to look at this.
We're going to come on to this.
I've got, I think, pretty much every book written on goalkeeping, whether it's coaching or whether it's autobiographies or whatever's been written, certainly in terms of footage. And I think when you start off as a young coach, you think, what's new and what can I do and what's different. But I think as you gain more experience, you actually, for me now, every practice I do is in relation to the game.
Yeah.
If it doesn't happen in the game, I don't do it.
Yeah.
Because the level that I'm working at, you know, I've got to make the maximum amount of the time.
Yeah.
So what I ensure is all the practices that I put on, and I like to call them practices more so than drills, all the practices that I put on are game-related practices which they're likely to face.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, you know, with regard to playing Norway and Iceland now over the next two games, the importance of the practices I put on are going to reflect what I've seen with my own eyes of what the goalkeepers could face on the night.
So, I mean, just off the top of my head, if it were, not singling out Stoke City, but if it were Stoke City you were facing, obviously you know you're going to get a lot of throws into the box, a lot of deliveries in,
exactly.
Therefore crossing would take more significance maybe than it may normally take.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, that would be a good example. It might be something whereby the opposition's wide players, if they play 4-3-3 and the wide players play on the opposite side, so they like to cut in and combination play off the front man and strikes at goal. So a lot of my practices would be more centrally linked, the more angled linked, you know. So really, once I've seen what Iceland, how they play, how Norway are going to play, what I tend to do then is tinker with my practices, so that hopefully the goalkeepers know what they're going to face on the night.